Peace, peace. You know what it is. It's your man SKYZOO Skyzoo, live out the borough. And this is the NBA Exchange with my man Dexter Henry. You know how you doing it, man. Log on, tap in. Let's get into it.
What is good, everybody? Happy New Year. 2022 is here. Welcome back to the NBA Exchange. We are back here with you in the new year. Happy to be back. Hopefully everybody is safe and healthy. That is a very important thing at this time. There's been a lot going on. We had a little break. Last time we talked to everybody was right before Christmas. We had a little Christmas special. That was fun with my guys, Jarod Hector, Jamal Murphy, and, you know, the usual angry Brian Fonseca. We will not have the whole crew here for that today, but it is Wednesday as we're returning back in the middle of the week, which means my man Jarod Hector will be joining me for NBA With Nuance Wednesday. You know how we do with that. Jarod is here with me. Jarod, how's it going, man?
I'm good, man. You know me. I'm staying safe out here in these streets. I don't fool around with y'all. I am not outside. All right. You will not catch me outside doing nothing in these COVID Omicron streets.
Listen, man. People got to take it safe. We're going to talk really at the top about how teams have been hit hard by this Omicron virus and how that's impacted the league. But glad that you're safe, doing the right and responsible thing. Hopefully other people are doing the same. If you haven't, I've said this on the last podcast, get boosted, get vaxxed, stay safe, do what you need to do. That is the message so we can enjoy some nice things and keep talking about basketball in a safe way. But Jarod,
yes, sir.
COVID has absolutely impacted the NBA, right? And the Omicron virus definitely impacting the NBA. There was a good read, folks. If you haven't checked it out, Kevin Pelton of ESPN did a good job breaking this down by the numbers. And you know, Jarod and I, we like to look at the numbers and break things down. The article's titled, "Which Teams Have Been Hit Hardest by COVID right now," as we look at it going into the new year 2022, second half of the season. We're about halfway through it. Jarod, when you looked at this, I think a lot of people, you think about the Omicron virus and you say, okay, the Bulls, I know they got hit hard. They had that period where they had nobody, and then they had games that were postponed. But this really broke down who was hit the hardest. Were you surprised at what you saw that Kevin Pelton found in his research?
No, because, you know, Kevin Pelton, aka the Machine, you know, he really digs down deep into the advanced numbers to look at what matters, right? Like, now, total minutes missed by people who are predicted to be on your roster, of course that matters, right? And the Bulls are number one in that, right? They had the total most minutes missed because pretty much their entire full roster got COVID, right? So that caused them to miss a ton of games and missed minutes. And then when you look at wins above replacement, right, which is the warp stat, I believe Cleveland was number one in that, right? And what you're taking into account there, right, is about it's a metric where it's looking at what the contribution is vis-a-vis like an average level player, right? And so, because, you know, on every team you got average, a below average, above average, whatever that may be. So Cleveland was number one, and that's that. Chicago was fourth, I believe, or third. Look, it wasn't surprising to me to see it. Teams that have had full outbreaks obviously suffered the worst. We know that every team has at least had one player enter health and safety protocols now. For a while, the Jazz were able to maintain, but Joe Ingles just went into health and safety this week. So look, man, I said it before. An NBA season is hard to navigate, period. Like, just take away COVID. In any normal regular season, navigating the season is hard. Injuries, attrition, all the normal stuff that goes into an NBA season. Now you throw on top of it COVID and the Omicron variant and all that. And I've said this before, but look, and you know, these are dudes, they do what they do. Y'all know how these NBA cats like to get down in their free time. All right. Look, man, if you are on a team and your goal is to win, look, you got to curtail all that stuff and make sure you're doing it safe and right so that you don't have situations where your team now has to be without you for 10 days or even 6 if they're as the NBA and the NBPA has moved it down for vaccinated players. Because what ends up happening is if you don't have the full complement and you got to do that whole postponement or whatever, and those games get rescheduled on the back end, you're putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage, right? Because now instead of maybe every other night, which is what NBA players are used to doing. Now I got to play 4 games in 5 nights or 3 games in 4 nights. And we know that's not good basketball. Like, we've seen that. That's what the NBA has gotten rid of, try to eliminate as many as they could, back-to-backs and 4 games in 5 nights, because it's just too much basketball. And so, again, if you're trying to win, you've got to curtail that stuff and not let COVID be a reason that your team's chances get derailed.
I love that you had mentioned the Utah Jazz being the last team to finally have a player be put in health and safety protocols. Joe Ingles going yesterday, as reported by Adrian Wojnarowski. It would make me think that, do you think we've seen the worst of this? There's been thoughts to say that, right? I think Sunday was the first day where they were under 100 players in the league, not in health and safety protocols, or in under that number. Finally got under that 100 mark of players not in health and safety protocols. Do you think it's a competitive advantage for teams who've already been through this, been through the worst, if there has been, of this surge? Or is this still a situation where we got to wait and see, because we don't know if this has been the worst of the surge?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Dexter. It's wait and see, right? We are learning about this virus, the epidemiologists and the virologists and everybody, you're learning about it like monthly and daily as things pick up, right? And so it's the same with this. I think, again, teams that are, and remember, we saw the reporting from Baxter Holmes, ESPN's Baxter Holmes, the percentage of players who, and Matt Sullivan from Rolling Stone, the percentage of players who used the Johnson & Johnson vaccine versus the Pfizer vaccine versus the Moderna vaccine. Now, we do know in terms of efficacy, the Moderna vaccine is the most effective. Then it's Pfizer, then there's a decent drop-off, and then it's the Johnson & Johnson, right? Now, we also know there's only a certain amount of people in the NBA players who are also boosted, right? So there is, I think, teams, let's put it like this. If you have a majority of players who are on that Moderna and they're boosted, vaxxed and boosted, and also the players are practicing responsible behavior, i.e., they're not spending time indoors with a bunch of other people on masks, they're wearing their masks when they got to go in someplace real quick. If there's people are doing that, those people and those teams are at a competitive advantage. The ones who are just like, I'm vaxxed and boosted, I'm cool, I'm just doing whatever, I'm just living my life. Well, we see what that does, right? You keep going out and live your life.
Yeah, that is a concern for me, just looking at the sport, is that our team's going to get relaxed, saying that they've been through the worst of it. And like you said, they're still not doing the proper things and not taking the right precautions. You slip up and COVID could be the reason that you are at an extreme competitive disadvantage, not to mention other things that could affect the health of these men that are playing the sport, and also the families of the staff and people around him that I think should be noted as well too. We cannot talk about COVID in the NBA. You know this, Jarod, without talking about Mr. Kyrie Irving, right? Who refused to get that jab. Still unclear if he's gotten that jab. Nobody knows, but he is expected to make his season debut tonight against the Indiana Pacers. As you may or may not know, folks, he can only play in road games right now. So this is the Nets playing in Indy tonight. First of all, I guess let's start with this one, Jarod. How big is this for the Nets to get him back? The Nets have seemed to be okay offensively, and they've been better than people expected defensively this year, although lately not so good. So how big is it to get Kyrie back right now?
Well, look, anytime you add a 50, 40, 90 all-NBA guy back to a roster, that's a good thing, right? I mean, you can never have too much talent on a basketball team, okay? And Kyrie is one of the most talented, skilled players in the history of basketball. So it's a good thing. We did see last season, in the limited minutes that Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving were on the floor, this was a historically great offense, the best offense in the history of basketball, which of course makes sense because you have 3 players that can literally do everything, right? Okay, that's one piece of it. You mentioned the Nets. The last 3 games, they're in their longest losing streak of the season. They had previously been with the Warriors, the only teams in the NBA to not lose back-to-back games all season, and they have all of a sudden lost 3 straight. And the part that's been concerning over those 3 games, Dexter, has been defensively. You mentioned they've been a top 10 defense, at times top 5 defense this season. Those last 3 games, they've been like 25th. That ain't good, okay? And Kyrie ain't going to help that, right? Like, he's not a defensive stopper. Now, last season, he played probably the best defense of his career, and can he come back in and do that? But defense is so much about effort and want to. And this is a guy who decided, well, I'm making a stand. I don't want to take this vaccine because of whatever. It doesn't strike me as a guy who's about want to, right? On that end of the floor. So we'll see what that looks like when they get back together. The players are all saying the right things. We can't wait to have Kyrie back. That's our brother, yada, yada, all that. Cool. And again, yeah, having another ace offensive player helps, no doubt. But Nash has said it repeatedly. Defensively is this team's identity. This is where we're going to make our mark. Got to get buy-in on that end of the floor, man. Guys have got to be willing to do what is necessary, right? And in those last 3 games that they've lost, they just look disinterested on that end of the floor, right? Poor body posture, not closing out, letting guys get, I mean, it's just, right? It's that kind of malaise that you see in the middle of a season, which, all right, you got vets, whatever, but your ultimate goal as a Nets team is to win a championship, right? These types of habits are not good for championship teams.
I've seen a lot of talk on Nets Twitter, a lot of fans excited about his return, as they should be. They should be excited to see Kyrie back on the court. But my mind went somewhere the other day, Jarod, because a lot of the beginning of the season, there's a lot of people talking about, okay, hey, I'm going to pick the Nets and the Warriors. Even saw some picks like that to get to the NBA Finals. Totally possible. It's a couple of the best teams in the league. But you know what happens if Kyrie Irving and the Nets face the Warriors in the NBA Finals?
Can't play no games
at all. He can't play any games at all. That is possible, folks. This could happen. And I just wonder, in terms of chemistry, you said the guys saying the right things, but do you foresee any problems of guys maybe a month from now, even 2 months from now, as we approach the playoffs, saying that, hey, this is the guy that's only here some of the times, he's not all in, can't practice with us. I don't know how the travel is going to work, especially if the rules don't become less restricted in New York and other places. Do you foresee that having some sort of chemistry problem, especially with the time he came back in now? We're about halfway through the season.
It could potentially, Dex. And look, the players are never going to say anything publicly, right? They're all going to put the right face on and say the right thing. Behind the scenes, could it be something? Sure. Look, this is unprecedented, right? We've never seen a player do this since 60 years ago, right? And those were under completely different circumstances. Kyrie Irving is going to cause sort of like basketball players or NBA players are not unlike any other professional athlete. You know what these people love, Dex? Routine, right? The same thing, doing what they got to do. Someone coming in and out of the lineup, that is not routine, all right? Again, Nash put a good spin on it. Like, since I started here, I've had people in and out. Things have been crazy. I'm used to adapting. Of course you are. And you're definitely used to that. However, for consistency's sake, right? And for playing sake, players like to know, okay, I'm coming out at this minute. This is when I'm doing this. I'm getting my run with the second unit from here to here. Those things, right? Because then they know how to operate and how to attack the flow of the game. That's going to take some time and adjusting. Now, of course, Kyrie Irving is a high IQ basketball player, so it's not like you're injecting someone who doesn't know what they're doing, right?
Right.
So it can work, but it's still going to take some time. And again, you brought up the playoffs. That is the most important thing. Depending on whom they play and when, right? Kyrie's going to miss half of a playoff series if it goes 7 games, right? Because he can't play at home. So and again, you mentioned the Warriors who have that. If it's Nets and Warriors, he ain't playing at all that series,
at all,
right?
Right.
So this is a problem. So we're not even April and the playoffs are 3 months away. Right. Let's just see how this rolls from now until then, because in this season, anything's liable to happen between now and April. Who the hell knows?
That is true. And that is absolutely the world we'll live in tonight. We'll see how Kyrie looks tonight. I'll be tuned in. I know you will be, to watch your boy KD give the buckets that he needs against the Pacers. We know it for sure. But we talked about the Warriors, another player set to return soon. And I think this is a huge boost for the Warriors in the same way that Kyrie could be for the Nets. That is Klay Thompson. Mm-hmm. There's already been some talk and reports that he could return Sunday against the Cavs. Here's what's scary for me, Jarod. This is a team that's looked pretty dominant without Klay, right? We know how good Klay is, and maybe we shouldn't expect him to come back and be 100%. Maybe he's 80, 85% of the former self, but they've looked really damn good. Now they're getting former All-Star, champion, guy who knows the system, could come in right now. Do you think that if he comes back, and let's say 80, 85%, like I said, let's say not 100%, 80, 85%, he didn't play basketball in 2 years. He comes back into this team the way they're already grooving. Does this make them scarier, or does this throw off the chemistry that we have seen with the Warriors?
It's so interesting you say that. I don't think it throws off the chemistry, again, because of the institutional knowledge that he has together, right? One of the challenges with the Kyrie situation and why it's not the same is as much as Kyrie, James, and Kevin are high IQ players, of course they are, this is now Kevin and James have a little more history playing together from their OKC days, but as a collective trio, this is still relatively new for the three of them playing together, right? I mean, Steph, Klay, and Draymond and Iggy and Kevon Looney. Those guys have got institutional knowledge. They have won championships. They know where so-and-so likes to move. They know it. It's like riding a bike, right? When he gets back in. And Klay is a different type of player, right? He doesn't need, when he gets the ball, he ain't pound, dribble. Like, no. It's catch, shoot, right? He's moving off the screens. Like, that is a beautiful thing. He is like, it's like a puzzle piece, man. You know, when you got the puzzle and it's like, you about to put that last piece in the center and you gonna finish the puzzle? That's what it is with him, man. It's like, it just fits in seamlessly because he knows exactly what to do. They know how to feed off him, and that adds more shooting threat. Because the one thing we know that he'll still be able to do is shoot the hell out of that rock, right? Yes. That ain't going nowhere. And so now you have a team that has Klay, Steph, Draymond, Wiggins, right, as your starting unit. And now you move Jordan Poole, but that second unit, I mean, Jordan Poole's been playing excellent basketball, right? And when they go ultra small, there's just too much space on the floor. And one of the hardest things to do, right, in any sport is guard supremely talented people in space, right? Because when they have space, that means they have more options at their disposal, right? What you want is to force people into crowds. Yeah, well, ain't no crowds because who you helping off of, right? There's no one to help off of, right? Like, okay, maybe you help off of Wiggins. Okay, but he's shooting pretty well from three, and he could always cut to the rim and do different things, right? Like, and the way the Warriors offense works, the addition of Klay Thompson makes them scary. And look, if he comes back 80-85%, Dexter, they're already the number 2 betting favorite right now. I mean, how do you not have them above the Nets? I mean, I know why. Because what Vegas is saying is, look, if James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving play healthy for an entire playoff series, it's very hard to see anyone beating them. And that's true. I agree with that. Beating a team with those 3 dudes 4 times out of 7 is almost impossible. But we don't know if we're getting that, right? Given all the things I just said.
Right. We don't know if we're getting that. And I'd love to see. This is why I'm actually totally rooting for this Nets versus Warriors finals matchup. Because I like a little anarchy too. But like, yeah, how are the odds going to shift on that too? And instantly, if Kyrie can't play, we're so far from that. You're right. We're getting ahead of ourselves. But look, I don't see how Klay returning to this team is bad at all. Do I think it's going to take him some time to ramp back up, get into stuff? And I think the Warriors have handled this situation pretty well. Not bringing him back too early this season. Yeah, but we'll see. All right. This is the time of the year. We're about somewhere between 38, 40 games, about the halfway point right now. All-Star game is coming up in Cleveland. We have no idea how that's going to look. We have no idea.
I know I will not be there. I know that.
I'm sorry, Jarod. I thought you were going to be out in these streets.
I will not be in these Cleveland streets for the All-Star game.
I thought you were going to be out in these streets in Cleveland.
I mean, listen, I love All-Star weekend, but ain't nobody going this year.
Yeah, so I will not be. We will not be doing a show of the NBA Exchange from Cleveland. Unfortunately, we will have a lot to talk about that, I'm sure. But All-Star is coming up. This is interesting for me because I feel like every year I roll my eyes at this. When it comes out with the picks, people debate and they're like, "Oh, this guy didn't get picked. This person didn't get picked." And sometimes I hate participating in that. But I just wanted to take a temperature check here. Could we pick some NBA All-Stars? Could we look at who we think are locks to make the team already? I did some homework looking into this, and I was intrigued by how in one conference I had a lot more locks than the other that I thought, which is very tricky. So let's do this. Let's start with the Eastern Conference here. Okay. I have mine. Who are your Eastern Conference locks to make the All-Star team right now? Guys that you think, no way, no doubt, they are going to be on the team.
Okay, I'm going to look at front court first. So
we know KD is coming.
I ain't even got to say it, but I'm going to say it. KD, DeRozan, Giannis. Fuck. Man. See, this is the problem. This is the problem. Because Embiid should be a lock. But I already got three front court locks.
Can I double check on that? Is DeRozan eligible as a guard also?
Okay, if he's eligible as a guard, then
he is.
All right, so then fine. Move him to guards. Okay, so you got Embiid, KD, Giannis, Embiid in your front court. DeRozan is one of your guards, and then your other guard is going to be either as a lock. It's got to be Trae Young.
I agree.
Could be Jimmy Butler. I mean, but the injuries, have played less games, but I mean, Trae's been putting up the numbers.
Right. I agree with you. So we have the same locks. Let's be clear. Those same 5, and I probably think that those 5 should be the starters.
Yeah.
That I will say. Now, that all depends, and I was just trying to double check on this because I could not remember whether or not DeRozan is eligible for front court or he's eligible for a guard position. It's very tough because he is eligible for a guard position.
Okay.
So I just checked that. That's tough because I think you and I did the same thing. We think about him. He plays a lot of the 3 and sometimes
a lot of the 4. Yeah.
For the Bulls, and I think most people would know that their starting backcourt is Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine. So that's a little interesting there. However, I like it because it gets Embiid in there, as we both said, who should absolutely be a lock. I didn't see anybody past that I could definitively say is a lock. I think we look at, would you say, and we'll probably get to this in a second, James Harden, he's played better after a slow start. Does he get in? I wouldn't call him a lock, but do you think he gets in?
He'll get in because of, all-star games every year are generally like, it's the guys. And if you're picking, James Harden's always one of the guys that gets picked, right? So he will get selected by coaches and that process. I think Zach LaVine's another one, right? Like he's an all-star. Drew Holiday doesn't have the counting stats, but in the impact on winning stats, Drew Holiday probably should be an all-star, right? So this is now we're getting into that hazy territory where it's like, because again, all-star games are for the fans, right? And that's the thing, and you know how I feel about all that, but that is what it is. All-star games are for the fans, so you got to put the names that fans know. So right. Harden's probably going to get picked. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie finds his way in the All-Star game. Like, listen, don't get it twisted, right? Because remember, it's part fan vote, right? And we know, say whatever you want about Hotep handles, Kanye with a layup package, whatever you want to call him. He got people who rock with him, right? Like, he got a hive, right? Like more so than many great players. And so I would not surprise me if he has a ton of fan votes.
You just made me nervous about something, Jarod, that could happen in the Eastern Conference. Not just Kyrie. What if the people say they want to vote in Ben Simmons, who hasn't played in the game all year? Wouldn't shock you, right?
It wouldn't. Now, he doesn't really have a hive like that, though. His hive is a little different, right? He don't have a 100% ride or die hive, because the funny thing about hives and casual basketball fans, what do they understand? Buckets, right? If you just had to take somebody off the street and say, explain basketball, they know buckets, right? Everybody just understands buckets. Ben don't get buckets like that, right? So I think it's very hard for him to have a hive. Whereas we know Kyrie is all about buckets.
Yeah, we know that it's about the buckets. Okay, we had the same locks for the East, and I do agree with you. I think Harden will get in. I do think there's a case for Drew Holiday to be a second All-Star with the Bucks. So we're there on that. Western Conference. This is the conference I had more locks. I felt like I could see the roster more of guys who I think absolutely going to get in, even beyond the starters. Who were your locks for the Western Conference?
Woo! Okay, backcourt. I think that's pretty easy. That's Steph and Donovan Mitchell. I think that's pretty easy. What do you say there? I think those are the two guards.
Those are my two guys. I wouldn't be mad, Jarod, if somebody said John Morant. I do not think
to start. I mean, it's tough in your first year to be a starter, but he might, because of he's more on Bleacher Report and those little like clip shits than Donovan Mitchell is. Okay, so
right, and he's got that kind of highlight popularity going for him. Right.
So I could see that. Shout out to my Grizzly Cubs. So I could see that. Right. Steph, of course, we know that. Look, Jokic.
Well, you said Steph and Donovan. I had Donovan as a starter, just to be clear.
Those are the starters. Jokic, of course. Look, he played not a ton of games, but when he has played, he's done his thing, and he is LeBron James after all. So it will be literally impossible for that dude not to be a starter in the All-Star game. So your other front court spot there is LeBron James. And I'm looking at the rest of that, the front court, and I'm like, I ain't really loving a lot of y'all out here in the Western Conference in terms of like what you're doing, but because of the year he's having, it again, counting stats aren't there, but who should be there is Draymond Green. It should be Draymond, but it won't be Draymond.
Well, okay, so I agree that he won't start, but are you with me on that he should be a lock to be on the team?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think
easy.
I think he's got to be on the team.
It would have been Paul George, but he's injured now. So I think the other Devin Booker's got a case, but again, he's a guard, right? So like, do you?
No, yeah, he's only got guard eligibility.
And
so
Anthony.
Are you going with two bigs? Are you? Because this is what it comes down to.
Rudy.
To me, are you going Rudy Gobert? Are you going Karl Anthony Towns? Those are your options there. I am not sure if Luka Doncic has forward eligibility, and I'll get to him a little bit later because he wasn't even on my lock list, which is kind of crazy.
Because he's having a bad season. He's not playing
well. Yeah. And I know he's got the numbers, but he wasn't on my lock list there. I could lean Rudy. Rudy's a lock for me.
Rudy's a lock. Rudy's a lock, and he should start. They should go then with two bigs, right? Because Jokic is like a point center, right? So like he can like kind of play like a four, and it's an all-star game, so positions don't actually matter. But the designation of starting, it should be Rudy, but it will be because of popularity. Luka Doncic will get that other spot. See, that's how bad of a year he's having, Dex. That he wasn't even on top of my brain. I was like, that's how bad of a year he's having.
It felt weird to me when I was making my list of locks, and I couldn't, and obviously Jarod and I were looking at this. We are looking at numbers too to back up what we're seeing, and I was like, I can't put Luka on here as a lock. Here, these are my locks. Where I was with you: LeBron, Jokic, Steph, definite starters.
Easy.
No doubt that they're starting. Okay. I have Donovan Mitchell also starting at the other guard spot. My decision was to go with the other. I'm putting Rudy Gobert there. He's having a fantastic season. We know the impact that he has defensively. I was going there. Draymond to me is a lock to make the team. Chris Paul's to me is a lock to make
Chris
the team.
Paul will make it.
And
Booker will probably make it.
And Booker will make it. And Ja Morant. Those are my locks. Those are guys like no way I can't see that they're not in the team. No matter what you think about who's starting or who's not starting, whatever. But I think those guys are locks, and Ja Morant definitely deserves his first time on there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do I think it's interesting because I think when you come down some of these final spots, it could be Cat, it could be Luka Doncic, it could be Paul George, although he'll have a lot of missed games by the time that comes close. So it's going to be the end of the West is not that great for you to pick, and I think you're scrapping. Then you'll start talking about guys like De'Aaron Fox, maybe.
And then it's a question: do you add a third big? Does Ayton deserve to be an all-star? Right? The counting numbers probably aren't high enough, but he's had they're the second best team in the Western Conference, right? So do they deserve to have three players on their team, right? Or but how do you say that if the Warriors only have two, right? It gets into these weird political sort of things about how many players should be on and what and who. But he's had a great season too. It's the West for the injuries have really kind of plagued them, and then the play towards that 5 number and down has been off. I mean, remember I started the season saying I thought Michael Porter Jr. would be an all-star, right? But the back injury, he played what, 3 games?
Something
4
like
maybe?
No more than that, right?
And then out, and it's been a rough year in the West.
So with that being said, which teams do you think deserve multiple all-stars? Because I think the case we talked about the Warriors, right? Steph and Draymond. Who else do you think? Utah, right?
Utah should get 2. I mean, you can't be that good and not have 2. Phoenix should have 2. Brooklyn will likely have 2. Chicago should have 2. Milwaukee should have 2. Right? I mean, it's so tough, right? Like, and the Drew Holiday thing, again, his impact never going to be seen in straight counting stats. And then, again, this is for fans, right? And fans understand 20-something points a game. That's what the casual fan understands about basketball, right? How does it impact winning is not as easily quantifiable with the eyes, right? Because a fan thinks, if you score 25 points a game for a team, you must help winning. But you and I know all 25 point per game scores are not created equally, right? Like, so that's the thing about this. It'll be interesting. So those teams, I think, should have at least 2 all-stars.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting there. And then we talked about John Morant, potential first-time All-Star. I think he's a lock. I think if he doesn't get in, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Anybody else that you see getting in as a first-time All-Star that you think deserves it? And we're in this interesting spot. I want to make this clear because there's still a bunch of work to be done. Things can change over the next couple of weeks. And I think that's why I only had about 5-6 locks in the East, because so many teams are bunched up. So much can change over the next couple of weeks. So any guys you think they could? As you sound like you think about somebody,
Yes. Jarrett Allen should be a first-year All-Star.
That's a good one. Cavs deserve somebody right now.
Cavs are the number 4 team in the league in adjusted net rating. That defense is legit. Number 2. They can guard. That great game last night against Memphis Grizzlies. By the way, hell of a win by Memphis. Second out of a back-to-back after boat racing the Nets the night before.
How about say you were smiling on the second night of back-to-back because our man Jamal Murphy tried to come out here when the Grizzlies started slow and give you a little bit of hell, and you were like, nope. And
second night of back-to-back.
Then we had to deal with Jarod's text at the end, talking about how clutch John Morant was.
But something I always talk about, Dex, this is where young legs matter, right? If that's an older team, they probably drop the rope and lose that game. But when your average age is like 21 or 22, we good. We might start a little slow. Young legs, we ready to roll, man. And those guys just have a level of moxie and fight to them that I love. So, I think Jarrett Allen for Cleveland, he should definitely be a first-time All-Star. I would say Evan Mobley, but, it's very rare that a rookie,
rare.
Right? And for that, the rookie has to be dominating the counting stats, and he is not doing that.
How about, I'm going to throw another one for you out the East. How about LaMelo Ball. Sorry, not Lonzo.
LaMelo is so interesting, right? So this is year 2. So he's definitely going to be rookie sophomore for sure, or the rising stars as they call it. I wouldn't be mad if LaMelo Ball made it. I really wouldn't be. Charlotte's been, a little up and down, right? They're 500. But listen, that's better than what Charlotte's been, right, in recent years. Now people would argue, well, is it him or is it Miles Bridges that should be the All-Star, right? But is Miles Bridges playing better because of the presence of LaMelo Ball, right? So then you get into maybe, right?
Tough. Yeah. It's again, I think with those teams, a lot is going to be how they played. Some teams have some important stretches. The East, anywhere from 6 to 11 is really bunched up. Some teams can make a run and shoot up the standings. Could be the Celtics, could be the Knicks. We haven't even talked about Jason Tatum or
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown is locks. We're not even talking about that. That's how bunched up it is in the East.
And they ain't locks.
They're not right now. And that's kind of crazy to say because you would have thought for the last couple of years, well, one of them is definitely going to be there.
Yeah, they're having a rough year, man. They're having a really rough year. Something's not right there. I don't know what it is. I'm going to do that thing, it's where it's like, with League Pass, you get caught up with certain teams. I'm going to do like a 10-game block of watching them because something just I don't know what it is. And it's not just, they need a true point. Something else is going on there. I don't know what, but it just doesn't feel right. And I don't know what it is.
Sometimes it doesn't feel right. All right, this is way too early to be probably talking about the All-Star game, but we did it. And we made some picks. We're going to make some more picks, NBA picks. We're going to come back after a short break. When we come back, we're going to give you some picks, some best bets for tonight. Jarod and I will do that on the NBA Exchange. Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of the NBA Exchange. All you got to do is sign up now and use the promo code NBAEX. Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Yep, that's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today. All right, welcome back to the NBA Exchange. I'm your host, Dexter Henry, with my man, Jarod Hector. Give us a follow at the NBA Exchange on all social media platforms. All right, we had a good conversation, but we also like to, help you guys with some money so you can use it. Places like Prize Picks that you just heard about. Use that promo code. That's the way to go. We want you guys to do that for sure. Use the promo code NBA Exchange And we have a bunch of good ones throughout this whole network. Jarod has one for his podcast, 7 Footers. Use that promo code there for as well too. Check out the 7 Footers podcast this week. Him and the homie Jenna Lemoncelli had a really good conversation about a bunch of stuff, including DeMar DeRozan, why he should be considered for NBA MVP. Y'all should definitely check that one out. But in terms of betting, some interesting games tonight. I have a theme where I'm going.
Okay.
Here tonight, I'm looking at road teams to win. What do you got tonight? What's your first game that you got for us tonight?
Interesting game. Second night of a back-to-back for the Toronto Raptors. They head to Fiserv Forum to play the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee's 7.5-point favorites. Look, Milwaukee did just lose to Detroit the other night. People are like, whatever, blah, 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 this and that. Toronto's kind of starting to find a little bit of a groove here. It is the second night of a back-to-back, but that's a team that they just find ways, man. I just like how Toronto plays. You know, they're gritty, all those things we love to say. Look, man, I got a feeling I'm going, a little risky here. We're going straight money line, which is plus 240. Taking the Raptors on the money line, plus 240 to pull out the straight up win on the second night of a back-to-back against the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay. Straight up money line. Look, I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. A little bold in the new year. You know what I mean?
you know what's funny? I just didn't realize we have a comment from a friend of the show. And can anybody hear his voice on this, Brian Fonseca? You see this? Fred VanVleet is an all-star. If you know Brian Fonseca, you know that was said with anger.
And it's all caps, and he dropping F-bombs out here. You know how Brian is, man. He's just the angry dude. He's just the angry dude, man, you know?
Yo, he's so on brand. Brian, thanks for checking in. We love you as always. My first game. Okay, I like that. I like that gutsy bet taking.
Yeah, man. Going with it.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets versus Indiana Pacers. I do not think the Pacers have much of a chance in this game. I'm going to be quite honest about this. Kyrie returning, fantastic for the Nets. I think the team will be pumped up about this. I think they will be ready to go in terms of that. I think there'll be some spark to the team. We don't know how much Kyrie will play, what his conditioning level is at. Everybody says that he looks good. But the Nets are 6.5-point favorites on the road. Now, the Pacers, they have been decimated by COVID protocols right now. A lot of players not healthy. They just played the Knicks last night. The Knicks got a 10-point win at home over them. And I don't think this team, although very hungry, a lot of guys from overseas and in the G League, I don't think there'll be any match for the Nets in this. I think the Nets are going to be pumped up. I think they're going to want to win for Kyrie. I think the Nets easily cover this, winning by more than 7 points in this contest. And I think they get this done. So give me the Nets favorite to win. Throw some money down on that. I think this is one of your best, easiest bets of the night. Give me the Nets to smash the Pacers in Indianapolis. That's what we like.
Man,
watch the Kyrie hype train roll after this.
He said smash him like it ain't nothing.
Yeah. I think this could be bad. I think this could be bad for the Pacers. All right, your second game of the night.
So the Utah Jazz head to Denver to take on the Nuggets, the depleted Nuggets, who really it's just Nikola Jokic. And by the way, shouts to Jokic, man. Like the only reason why this team is getting above 500 is because homie might be playing better than he played in his MVP season.
Facts.
But the Jazz, man, I just think they're too tough right now. They're on a little bit of a roll. They're playing good basketball. They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. I like them to win big in this game. I'm actually going to go Jazz winning margin 11 to 15 points plus 625. I just see a big time win coming from Utah tonight.
Okay, you going with a smash. Okay, I see you. Got a smash for Utah. I could see that too. The Jazz offense, how good is it? Their offense has been so good. But Jarod also spoke about this on the 7 Footers podcast, which I was producing last night. He also talked about how, look, the concern is what can they do on the defensive end. I'm really intrigued to see what Utah does on the buyout market, how they try to shore up their perimeter defense, because the offense looks really good. And I've been watching a lot of their games lately on League Pass, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Okay, my last game. It's not a game I think most people are going to be excited about watching. That's the Atlanta Hawks versus the Sacramento Kings. And why they're not excited? You know why? Because the Kings are involved. The Kings are involved in this, right? Now, look, the Kings played the Lakers tough last night. And one of the interesting
They
things out of that-
did.
They did, right? One of the interesting things I think out of that Laker game, I would love to hear what Murph has to say about this is Russell Westbrook had no turnovers, which was
Zero
amazing.
turnovers.
Can't believe that. 0 turnovers. First
time in like 6 years, right?
Yes, first time since 2016 that had happened. The Kings, they hung tough, but the Kings, they just don't have enough. I look at them, their offense is disjointed a lot. A lot of times it's hoping Buddy Hield hits a 35-footer. There's not much going on. There's not much shooting. They're playing on the second night of a back-to-back. Traveled from LA up to Sacramento. We'll see how that goes. The Hawks, should they get this game? They're road underdogs at +1.5. And I would say I'm inclined to take the Hawks here, guys. But here's how I bet it. You know what the thing both of these teams have in common? They are terrible defensively. Adjusted defensive rating for both these teams, 26 and 27th. The Hawks are 26, just slightly better. That is in the league, right? Both terrible. Give up about 113 points a game. What I would encourage you to do is look at that over-under. The over-under for this game is 229. Right? Both teams at 113. That puts them at 226. But
smash that over.
Involved. The Kings are involved. That's right, Jarod. What did you tell the people?
Smash that over.
The Kings are involved. They're liable to give a few more points than you thought down the stretch anyway. So smash that over. That's the way to go and bet in this game. I haven't done a lot of over-unders this year in terms of total points, but this is one because these teams suck on defense. This is going to be points palooza in Sacktown. If you like a lot of point scoring, hey, Trae Young dropped 56 the other night.
He might go 60 tonight.
He might go for 60. Go for a 60 piece.
Dex, I talked about this on the 7 Footers pod yesterday. I'm just disappointed with the Hawks. I gotta be honest. I know they had injuries and all that, but when Trae came out with the whole it's hard to get up for the regular season, I was like, my guy, yo, you ain't been here long enough to be saying that, man. That ain't. And I think that just set a bad tone for them. They need to reset, man. Come back out of the All-Star break and go on a run because they're talented enough. They get healthy Hunter back and all their guys, but this ain't it.
Yeah, they don't look right, and we'll see once they get healthy. And you talked about this on your podcast, was that you didn't like the mindset, and I agree with that. I thought it was not a right mindset to have, but I want to cut him some slack. He's a young player, young team. Maybe he's banking on the fact that he's going to get back. As we know, been watching sports for a long time, that is not guaranteed. And in the NBA, we talked about this on an earlier show this season. No windows are guaranteed. You don't know what's guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. You don't know if your team's going to be healthy. We have no idea with any of these things. So I think when you have that attitude, hopefully Trae Young has learned for that, and that team is to be healthy. We don't want to see him have to fire a coach again just to get it going. We don't need to see that, but hopefully they can get it together. But yeah, they give defensively, they ain't good. And the numbers absolutely show that. All right, that's a wrap for this edition of the NBA Exchange. We want to thank everybody, as usual, for supporting us. Please continue to support all the good content from Backpack Broadcasting and the Props Network. We thank everybody who supported us, including our patrons at Patreon. We told you guys about the Prize Picks promo that we have going on. Be sure to check that out as well. Getting a great deal. Match up your first deposit up to $100. That gets matched when you use the promo code that you see right there below, NBA EX. You know where to follow the NBA Exchange. You know where to follow Jarod Hector, 7 Footers Podcast, also doing his thing with True Hoop. Check them out. They do bring it in every Friday. Always good to see as well. So for Jarod Hector, I'm Dexter Henry. And until the next time, we're back on NBA Exchange. We'll have a lot more to talk about you. Remember, get vaxxed, boosted, stay safe. And don't be out here in the streets. As Jarod might have a
exactly.
Plans.
Keep your ass inside, man. Keep your ass inside. Don't be ain't nobody outside. Stay in the house.
There you go. That's our hot take for the episode. Until Friday, y'all. Peace.